Lilith is a goddess of truth and sovereignty, and engaging with her will bring up a spotlight on some questions that you'll need to ask yourself. Hello lovelies, and welcome back to Squeaky's Cauldron, or welcome if this is your first time here. Thank you for visiting my weird witchy corner of the internet where we explore all things magic, like sex magic and intuition and lots of other stuff, including Lilith, which is what we're going to be talking about today, specifically Lilith and fear. When I first mention that I work with Lilith, often I get one of two different responses. The first being complete blank, no idea what I'm talking about. The other being fear. This kind of pulling back and why on earth would you work with a demon? Why would you be tangling with these dark things? That's so dangerous, that's so dark, that's so awful. I've also gotten a ton of messages in my inbox as well as comments on some of these videos, specifically the ones about Lilith, expressing a lot of hesitation around working with her. These ideas that she is a goddess of retribution, that she wants to destroy you, that she's going to punish you, that you have to be very, very specific and particular about rituals around her, that you have to approach her in this very specific way. And all of these things, they contribute to people choosing not to seek her out, not to follow the path of Lilith, even just to get to know her, because there's so much fear around what might happen. And also I think a bit of, what will it mean about me if I start to converse with and work with a dark deity? Does that make me a bad person? I want to start to dispel some of this fear around what kind of deity is and what you might expect working with her. There is, generally speaking, absolutely no reason to fear Lilith, although there are some exceptions, and I'll get to those closer to the end of the video, so stay tuned. First, I want to spend a couple minutes just talking about why you might want to pursue a relationship with Lilith. For me, this relationship with her has been so incredibly rewarding and expansive in a lot of unexpected ways. The most unexpected being this really beautiful maternal energy that I have gotten from her. You might not expect that a deity who is associated with being a demon, associated with sexuality, associated with child murder, would have a maternal aspect. But the thing is, the biggest reason that she's associated with child murder is that she had her own children taken away from her. She was not first and foremost, but one of her main aspects is that of mother. She'll show up differently for everyone, but for me, the jelly to her peanut butter is Archangel Michael. And the two of them are always with me, Michael to my right and Lilith to my left. Together, they form this very strong parental energy. Don't get me wrong, if you have been watching this channel for a while, you've probably picked up that I have an intimate sexual relationship with both of these deities, and they also hold that space of protection and nurturing that a parental unit should. I mean, that just is one example of how relationships with deities do not mirror relationships on our 3D world. That's all to say that Lilith is not a deity that you have to be afraid of. It's been my experience that if you want to do detailed rituals, if you want to approach a specific deity in a really specific way, then great, that's gonna work well for you. However, if you just don't really like the pomp and circumstance of a detailed ritual or a very specified ritual, forcing yourself into that space, forcing yourself to go through these different steps, to gather up all the different bits and pieces and herbs and tools and astrological aspects and all of this stuff so that you have the quote-unquote perfect ritual, that's going to suck the life right out of your connection with whatever deity that you work with, including Lilith. Be honest with yourself. Like, is that something that brings you joy? Or is that something that you can get rid of out of your belief system that doesn't work for you? This is the thing with magic. You need to experiment. You need to try different things on, see what works for you, and allow yourself to outgrow things that may have worked in the past and start to feel kind of flat and empty. Lilith is not a bad goddess, and she's not here to punish you. And this is an important and. If you're being shitty, if you're being a shitty human being, and you know if you are, then you gotta do better, because a relationship with her will bring these things into focus. And if you're not willing to look at them, then it very well may feel like punishment. If you are not willing to do the hard work of being honest with yourself about how you're showing up in the world and the impact that you're having, and whether you're living aligned with your values, and where your boundaries are, and what your truth is, then it's gonna fucking hurt. It could hurt really, really badly. The impact of this quote-unquote punishment is the impact of cleaning out an old, nasty, infected wound. You will be scraping junk out of there, and if you refuse to look down and acknowledge the fact that this wound is infected, and it's infected because you've been putting dirt in it for years, then it's just gonna be pain. And you're gonna take stuff out and just put it back in. Do not engage with Lilith if you are not willing to be honest with yourself. If you're not willing to look at your shit. And this includes a lot of self-forgiveness, which is a fucking tough pill to swallow, because you have to look back at what you've done, the ways you've hurt others and the ways you've hurt yourself, and say, damn, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to myself. I'm sorry to the people that I've hurt. And to look at the you that hurt yourself and others and be like, you were going through it. And while it is your responsibility to clean up the mess you've made, there's a lot that contributed to you getting to the point where you could make that mess in the first place. Yeah, that's not easy. It's really, really not, because we know ourselves, our shadows, our nastiness so intimately. Like, sticking in a place of non-forgiveness is so much easier, because I know for myself, I can look at, I did this, I thought this, I went this way, I zigged when I should have zagged, and I zagged when I should have zigged, and all of that is my fault. And maybe all of that is my fault because I'm a fuck up. I'm broken. I'm uniquely horrible and terrible. Instead of, which is what I'm advocating for, looking at all of that and saying, I see how you came to that conclusion. And that conclusion led to that action. And that action led to that pain. I forgive you for coming to that conclusion. Let's see how we can come to a different conclusion and move forward in a better way. Because I can't go back and change what I've done, but I can move differently to check and recheck and recheck. Where do my beliefs have holes? Where am I not living in alignment? Where am I being unkind to myself and others? Myself first. Where am I being unkind to myself? Because if you're unkind to yourself, you cannot be kind to others. At that point, you're essentially living from a place of untruth. And it just ripples out from there. Are you willing to treat yourself and others as sovereign, as beings into and unto themselves, that have their own life, their own world, their own understanding, their own belief system, their own flaws, their own strengths and weaknesses, all of this, including yourself. For me, sovereign means that I am not subject to what you think of me. I am not subject to what you think you need from me. I am not subject to someone's comments, to someone's desire for me. I'm not subject to any of that. I am subject only to God, which makes me sovereign. I endeavor to treat others in the same way, as subject only to God and through God themselves. But if you are coming into this wanting to control someone else, wanting to make sure that you get what you want the way you want from who you want, then again, this is probably going to be pretty painful. Lilith is also a goddess of sex, sexuality, and expression. So questions like, where's your shame at, is going to come up. And it may very well come up as, here's your shame, hey, look at this. Now you have to face it head on. Now you are in it, you are experiencing it. How are you going to navigate it? What are you going to do with it? Are you going to let it control you? Are you going to be subject to it? Or are you going to learn from it? Lilith is only a goddess to fear if you fear yourself. If you can be brave and want to face that fear, she will welcome you with open arms, and she will show you delights and insights that you never could have imagined. And if you want to go further with her with one-on-one coaching, check out the link in the description. Get on my newsletter to stay informed. And lastly, if you want any more information on Lilith, her background, this kind of thing, check out this video next. Thank you, my lovelies, so much for being here. Thank you for listening. I love you all. And until next time, as always, take care of yourselves and use your voice.